Matthew 5:3 says, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." Imagine yourself in this setting on a grassy hill overlooking the Sea of Galilee. The crowds are pressing in around Jesus. He's found a place to sit, and he begins to pull all of his disciples around him for a team huddle. Now, these disciples, they've left everything to follow him. They no longer have a place to lay their head. They have no prestige, no job. They're opposed by the religious and civil leaders. They've heard the call and they answered, even if they didn't yet understand what it means to live in the kingdom. And now Jesus tells them what they are saying yes to. And he begins by affirming their impoverished status by telling them they are blessed because they are his disciples. The problem for so many listening as Jesus is preaching this radical sermon was that their view of the kingdom up to this point had been based on the world and religious standards for success, which was rooted in pride and self-sufficiency. And 2,000 years later, we find ourselves in that same kingdom. You see, to be poor in spirit is an honest confession that admits we're sinful and we're desperate for God's grace. It's understanding that we have absolutely nothing of worth to offer God. It's admitting that because of our sin, we're completely destitute spiritually and can do nothing to deliver ourselves. We must recognize our spiritual poverty before we can come to God in faith to receive the salvation he offers. We do this when we come to faith in Christ, but we're also called to live our daily lives dependent on God as our only source. He gives us the keys to the kingdom, but we cannot open the door to the blessings and abundance without first being poor in spirit. So how do we do that? How do we truly experience the blessing that Jesus is teaching? Well, we have to come with this posture of humility and emptying our own selves and self-efforts. Now, humility is not a matter of thinking low thoughts about ourselves. Rather, it's simply a matter of knowing ourselves as we really are. And when we see ourselves as we really are, we're positioned to come to God. Here's what's so amazing. When you have nothing, everything given to you by God is like a bonus gift. And the Bible tells us that we have a God that wants to give us abundantly more than we could ever ask or imagine. Personally, I've been in a season where I'm learning to see my weaknesses, my vulnerabilities, and struggles actually as the very tools that God is using to remind me of just how much I need him. I cannot save or change me or save or change my circumstances. And when we're serious about wanting to grow in humility, trust me, God will provide lots of opportunities to depend on him. Be careful, though, in the ways that the enemy works to keep us self-reliant and dependent on our own efforts. He wants us to be ruled by our pride, ambition, and selfish efforts. He doesn't want us to be poor in spirit. He wants to keep us from recognizing our desperate need for Jesus. So he keeps us focused on our circumstances and what the culture around us says is a blessing. Friends, I've changed the way I pray for myself, my family and friends, and even our church. Whatever it takes, Lord, I want to be poor in spirit. Bring me to the end of myself so that I can experience true, lasting joy and happiness found in you. Matthew 5:3, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven."